welcome to Uplifting Impact. It is so awesome to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I am introducing all of you to Gladys Manzanet. No, I said your name wrong. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
No, it's okay. Manzanet.
Yep. Manzanet.
Yep.
I'm so
Yep.
sorry.
No,
I
it's
have
okay.
I have a Manzanet in my family. That's why I'm going to keep wanting to say it. Manzanet.
You got it.
Okay. Okay.
No problem.
We'll try it again. We going to get this right. You know what? I did like 10 of these in a row, and then I haven't done any for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm a little bit out of.
Hey, no problem.
Okay.
I will be your guinea pig, girlfriend.
No. We're good. I got my game face back on. Okay, here we go. Okay. Manzanet.
Yep.
Manzanet. Okay. Hello and welcome to Uplifting Impact. It is so awesome to be here with all of you today. I'm super excited because I have my friend Gladys Manzanet here with us. And Gladys is going to be talking to us all about what it feels like to have diversity, equity, and inclusion really help move your ideas around sales and really help your thinking around how you can bring this into the marketing spaces of your business. And so Gladys she comes to us with just a wealth of experience. Not only is she an amazing community leader, somebody who is constantly pouring her heart out into the community to make us all better people and to make the organizations that she works with better, but she also is at Northwestern Mutual. And at Northwestern Mutual, what her focus is on is trying to create more inclusive and diverse and equitable environments. She really works on coaching and consulting and supporting field leadership for Northwestern Mutual in their diversity and inclusion efforts. She also helps to develop and execute the field strategy that continues to position the organization as an exclusive distribution system. So really with this focus on, in particular, women, on particular underrepresented communities. And she also does just an amazing job of making sure that the Hispanic voice is in all of the things that she does and all the work that she is involved with. Gladys, it's awesome to be here with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. So we got a chance, obviously, we've gotten many chances to talk about some of the work that you do and how you do it and why you do it. But maybe you could just explain to the people who are listening, like what moves you? Why are you doing this work? Why did you decide to just direct all your amazing talents into this space?
I think so. You had referenced some of the volunteer work that I've been doing. I think as long as I've been alive, right? I've always had like this calling that I need to be helping my people somehow. And I think, my people started to grow into this, huge, pool of like everyone that really needed to be helped. And I think part of that was also like this idea of like what marginalized communities, who do we need to help? How can we uplift them? And so that work, I think, just kind of spilled over into my marketing savvy and how can I use this professional experience to work for my community. And I think that's what's kind of led me to where I am now.
That is awesome. You know what it sounds like? I mean, I don't want to put a plug in here, but it sounds like purposeful hustle. You found something that you were super passionate about, something that you cared about, and then you directed your work towards it, which is pretty awesome.
This is why we're friends. Yeah.
Fantastic. So can you just explain to me, because I just shared kind of broadly what you do and how you focus. Could you help us understand like what that looks like? What do you do in your normal days?
Sure. So at Northwestern Mutual, we've got kind of like the home office. So this is like the big building downtown, that crew. We've got a D&I team that really works with our employees there at the home office. And then my team, we're field diversity and inclusion. And what my team does is we've got a team of 7 that really kind of focuses our efforts on the 76 network offices across the country. So we work with their leadership at each one of those network offices to help create more inclusive communities within their network offices. So it's about building up leaders, sharing with leaders why it's important to, have diversity and inclusion within their goals, helping them understand the value of really uplifting and really coaching their diverse leadership, their women. And I think that has already kind of translated into some really big gains for us. And that's really what I help do.
That's awesome. And you in your field, just so like our listeners can get an idea, because people are listening from all over the world is what we've been told by our data. So so tell me, like, what does your field consist of, and like where are these spaces that you're doing this work?
Yeah, so across the country in every one of the 50 states, we
Okay.
have advisors that. So our work, Northwestern Mutual, is a basically a financial services company. We focus on life insurance and how it can be the cornerstone of a financial plan to help build legacy for you and your family. Is really kind of the bottom line.
Okay.
The field offices, they contain a managing partner, managing directors. We have financial advisors and their staff. So you
Okay.
could have an office as small as 25 people and as large as 150. And
Okay.
so that's really, where we kind of have a description of what a network office looks like across the country.
Fantastic. And so you have a number of those network offices
Yep.
that you're
Yep.
supporting. And what does your support look like for them?
So I have direct hands into 16 network offices in the central and
Whoa.
southern region. So, so I
So
am
you're constantly busy.
very busy, especially recently, right? So very, very busy, just kind of helping to coach. I work with, we've got principals that are kind of like, I would say, assigned to those network offices, and I work
Okay.
kind of in tandem with them. So we've got like performance teams that work with them on everything from like finances and what they can do. And then I'm kind of like the leadership component, and I kind of help them with their leadership
Got it.
from the diversity and inclusion perspective. And then that kind of looks like being able to kind of help coach them through all kinds of different types of D&I training, right? So this
Okay.
can look anything like unconscious bias can be a start. Digging into, ally work, digging into how you can kind of help develop and understand the nuances in your diverse advisors, what motivates women versus motivates white men, how you can really build up your cadre of, developmental skills and being able to kind of coach people the right way
Sure.
in ways that motivate them. So that's kind of how I help. In a small way, right? There are a myriad of things that I can do in each one of these 16 network offices because they're all like mini offices with all their own cultures and
Sure.
different types of, different makeups. And so, each of their challenges are always different, but all of them have a collective, I think, purpose in being able to do better, not only by their communities, but also the people that they serve.
I think that's one of the things I've always been just really impressed with when I think about Northwestern Mutual is that the organization really understands, from my perspective, because I've gotten to work with different, departments, different ERGs, different, levels of leadership, and everybody seems to have an understanding that diversity is a critical component and a critical part of how you want to do business. Not only does it fit your mission and the vision of the organization, but it also fits the practices, right? And the business outcomes that you're looking for. So can you help me understand, like, from a marketing perspective, could you give us like maybe an example, like a actual story of a place where you had to do some coaching, where you think it made a difference in the way that somebody was doing their job or how they were showing up in the marketplace?
Exactly. So I told you a little bit more about so I have some offices in the southern region, right? So how I would coach somebody in, say, South Florida, like Miami, would be totally different than like Iowa, right? And so we had one of our managing directors. He was, kind enough. And he really was super excited about a talent, a young man that he was able to recruit into the business. And he was a financial advisor, just really sharp, able to really kind of very people person. And what he started to find was he was coaching him the way he coached all his other advisors. And he was just not getting the types of results that he typically gets. And he's, kind of a little frustrated. And so he calls me up and he's like, listen, I have no idea like what motivates this kid. I'm trying to figure out, he's sharp. I know it's not that he doesn't understand what he's doing. So can you help me understand? And so I kind of just basically broke him down like, okay, so, who is he meeting with? How is he, what are you starting to see? And so he started like, well, so essentially he was meeting with Hispanic families. And what he started to say was he started to complain about how long these meetings were taking. Like typically, a meeting would be anywhere between 45 and 45 minutes and an hour, and they were taking close to 2 hours. And he was like, this kid is like talking to these people, and it's not just one meeting; it's multiple meetings. And so I started to kind of basically break it down. Like, listen, there's some cultural nuances that you have to understand in the Hispanic market or in Hispanic segment in Hispanic families. We don't have conversations about money. It's like taboo. Or if you're having conversations about money, it's because something went wrong. And so it's a cautionary tale about what not to do. And so I was explaining to him in that first meeting, what he's probably
Right.
doing is explaining like what these products are and then convincing them that they're for real, right? So, what is it? What is life insurance? What is a financial plan? How does a financial plan kind of help, position my family and, in next generation, for, great, either collective wealth or just being able to kind of build wealth, helping them understand how money works, how you can make your money work for you. And, he's probably having these conversations to the point where these people are probably like, I didn't even know that could happen, right? So they're probably asking
Sure.
more questions and more questions. Then you have to convince other people because generally sometimes it's not just that one person, especially if it's a young person. Like he probably needs buy-in from his family.
Sure.
He probably wants to kind of bring in and make sure that this is the right decision for him. And so you're usually probably having meetings with people at their homes, right? And probably now, like they're probably like mega Zoom calls, right?
Yes.
Trying to help people understand.
Sure.
And so so I started to explain this to him, and all of a sudden the light bulb started to go off. He was like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. And so then he started to feel bad. It's like, what, this young man, if he's not able to have, close like a certain amount of business by the end of the month, like he may not be successful. And I worry about him. And then I tried to explain to him, listen, it'll take a little bit of time on the front end, but this is what this kid will do. This kid will share what happens. This family will be so indebted to him for helping them understand what this business is, how it could help them, how they can set up their family for the future, that this person's going to tell everybody that, he's going to tell his siblings, he's going to tell his cousins, he's going to tell his parents, everybody, his colleagues, because he's going to be like, I can't believe that this is real. And everybody needs to know this because I didn't know this. And so what you're going to happen is although it's going to be a longer, what they call sales cycle, the exponential growth of that particular young man's business is going to be, you just need to be patient. And so, and also too,
and that's so interesting too, right? Because like a lot of times in business, we have different protocols or different systems that are set up for one particular customer. And then we say, to people like, go and let's try, other different customer segments, but we don't change any of our systems or our process or
expectations
or, kind of any of those components that really are critical in the sales cycle and what happens. And so it's fascinating because we talk a lot here about like, what are some of the operations and the systems that you might be blind to, that might just be like, oh, we've just kind of always done that haven't had any review or haven't had anybody look at it in a different light with a different perspective on it. Right. So it's different than I'm trying to make a sale and I'm talking to just one person or educating one person to I'm trying to educate 5 people. Right. It might take longer, but I'm actually from a cost per person, cost per meeting kind of thing, right? Like, or time per meeting, it's actually less because I'm engaging with more people in that time frame. Right. And so it's just interesting, right? Because there's these nuances in every single part of our business practices that we are perpetuating without having these lenses. Okay. So tell us what happened. So what happened?
So one of the things is, I commended him because he found this young man, his name was Rafael. He had such promise. So for me, I just commended the leader and said, listen, you understood that something needed to be different. You understood that it wasn't him, right? Because some people in other, any other offices may dismiss this young man as not being built for this business, right?
Yeah.
So for him, I just commended him on like, I'm so happy that you see the promise and that you stuck with him. Not only that, but also too, so being able to kind of give him that type of coaching and just kind of that grace, if you will, right? He also learned how to motivate him, right? Because they used to have like these Monday morning meetings, to kind of talk about like their production, what they were doing. Sure. And, this young man kept coming in, and because of his segment, right, it's a little different. And so what we started to learn was that shaming meeting that they typically have wasn't working for him. So instead he was helping to build up his confidence because this young kid is up against other people working in a different market. And what he needed to know was that his leader believed in him, that his leader understood a little bit more about his market. His leader was with him along the way. Now, and then at the end of the month, the kid ended up closing a lot more business than the 2 top leaders in the office with the same length of service. So I think is just kind of like, is a great like story in that you stick with someone and you understand and you let them know that they're supported and that you've got their back essentially. There's no limit to what this person can achieve. And, in the kind of business that we're in, right? Like the sky's the limit for that kind of thing. And so all you need to do is let them see the potential and they will make it happen. They'll find a way.
That's so awesome. I mean, and I commend that leader too, right? Because how many people would say like, hey, I'm trying to reflect on my own practices and I know I might have a blind spot. I'm not exactly sure what the blind spot is. That's why it's a blind spot, but I have a feeling here, right? This is a hardworking person. This is somebody who I care about. This is somebody I want to invest in. And so instead of just assuming that there's something wrong with this individual, I have enough humility to be able to say, maybe there's something wrong with the way I'm doing business, right? Maybe my course of action is not great. Let me call somebody brilliant like Gladys. See what Gladys has to say about this. You know?
I think that's another thing too. Is I think, that's what's so great about the work too, because we're starting to recognize that there are systems in place that are not built for everyone. Yeah. And I think, as long as you can have someone to ask those hard questions, right? I think that's the thing. Are you asking the right questions? And I think that's also the kind of things like us as leaders that we need to make sure that we're asking the right questions. If we're being able to kind of tap in, like, is there something else? Because clearly this person had enough foresight to say, it's definitely not him, right? What else could it be? And I think now we're starting to see, we're putting together like market insights and things to be able to help them, give them the data. Like, let me tell you, everything you need to know about this market so you can understand that, the growth is there, the buying power is there, everything is there. You just need to be able to tap into it, but you have to tap into it the right way. And what you used to do before is probably not going to work for this particular market.
That's right. That's right. So maybe there's a leader who's listening to this, who's thinking, wow, I might be doing some things that are keeping me away from a segment of the market that I would really like to explore more, engage more. Or maybe I'm mentoring somebody, or I have somebody in my team who I know has potential, but is not meeting the potential. And maybe I need to reevaluate the way that I'm, just kind of the systems I have in place, or maybe how I'm even evaluating them. Right. But I don't have a Gladys. I don't have a Gladys that I can call, right? Right. What would be some questions that you would tell somebody who's in that position? Either I want to go into this new market, or I want to make sure that I'm being a better, stronger mentor for this individual. What advice would you give them?
So what I would say is there's a couple things that I would do. I would definitely say you may not have a Gladys, but you have Google. And,
right? Say it again. Gladys, say it one more time. One more time.
You may not have Gladys, but you have Google. Everybody has access to Google. And so my thing is like, listen, if there's so much information right now and so much data out there about not only, the compelling reasons why you should go for this market, but also too, like some nuances that you might find out, like all of that is available out there. Also too, being able to kind of just tap into and ask the right questions of the person that you want to help, right? You might be able to say like, what are some of the challenges you're facing? What are some of the things that we do that you're having trouble with? Because sometimes what happens is if there's language that we give them, or if there's something that's, part of the business, they almost innately know that something's wrong with it, but they will listen to you because they trust you. If you can ask them like, listen, is there anything that's wrong with what we do that doesn't necessarily work for you? How can we adjust some things to make it more palatable or make it more effective for what it is that you're trying to achieve? And typically, if someone's in this business a little bit long enough, they start to see what doesn't work for them. And all you need to do is empower them to let them come to you and let you know what it is that they might need. And I think that's the real, like, being able to kind of empower people to let them know, because sometimes we don't know what it is that we need. We don't know what kind of coaching we need. We don't know why. We just always have a sense that something is not right. And we just need to be able to trust that and have somebody kind of coach us through and help us talk through what it is that we need in order to better serve just the common purpose for the organization as a whole, but also to help someone learn and be a better leader and be a better producer, be a better advisor, whatever it is that it is. But I think will always kind of be murky more than
So Gladys, I want to make sure that in the last little minute that we have here, I want to make sure that if anybody here is listening and they want to stay connected to you and they want to read the beautiful things that you write about and the information that you share, because you're better than Google. I'm going to just put it out there. Okay. Your information is better than Google. So if they want to find you, what's the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to kind of engage. There are people who ask me questions all the time, and I'm able to answer those questions via LinkedIn Messenger or basically the direct messaging service. So I'm always helpful there. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, like from wherever you are in the corner of the world, that's where I am.
Fantastic. Okay. So we'll make sure that we put a link to your LinkedIn profile in the notes below, and we'll make sure that, if people want to be able to connect with you, that they can do so. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us here today. So glad to be able to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. And to all of you who are listening or watching, just want to say thank you again, too, for participating. It's been so fun to listen to people who have come back and listeners who've come back and said, this is how I'm using the things that I've heard in the Uplifting Impact podcast. That's when we feel good. That's when we feel like that's the metric that we're looking at, because we want to make sure that you're able to use this content to really help grow your leadership and help strengthen your leadership, because we believe here at Uplifting Impact that if you are living in this space, if you are really putting diversity, equity, and inclusion at the forefront of your marketing, at the forefront of your sales cycle, at the forefront of the way that you mentor people, at the forefront of just how you're doing business in general, we can make a difference in this world. So tell your friends to join us here at Uplifting Impact. And thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to be with you again in our next episode. Take care.